hours.
Some more would be lovely, wouldn't it? We've
over 10 hours left remaining. We're going to be going all the way up till just after 6 o'clock this evening, and then there's going to be some documentaries on.
Till midnight.
Yeah,
probably.
we are doing this for Public Child Protection Wales. Our donation links to the cause, which is supporting 5 parents who are challenging the government over the education and sexualisation and grooming of children in Wales. But it doesn't just affect the children in Wales, it affects the whole of the UK, because this is a global rollout. The last stand is in Wales. That's where the last battle is being fought. And they're doing it for every child in the UK. No funding, impossible to get any kind of funding. The parents have got over £85,000 in costs from the court, and we don't think that's right that those families have that burden, because they are doing it for every child here in the UK. So without further ado, one of the women at the front of this race and fight alongside Kimberly is the lovely Joan Ginsberg. Hello, Joan.
Hi, Joni.
Hiya, girls. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Oh, well done for watching.
Have you got a camera? Can you turn the camera on? If it's difficult, it doesn't matter.
I have a camera.
No, don't. If you've got to get up, don't worry, Joan. We'll just go straight on. It's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I also have blue tack.
Yeah, there she is. She got blue tack on her camera. That's
I look like a floating head, don't I? I don't know if that's any better. Anyway,
it's all right. Kat's been transparent part of the night.
Yeah, I've been like in and out of this, like
Casper, the little Casper, the friendly ghost.
Friendly ghost.
All right.
Friendly ghost.
Welcome, Joan, and thank you for coming on again to our fundraiser. How did you get involved with Public Child Protection Wales, and where has this journey taken you?
Well, the first time I met Kim and the girls would have been, I think it was during what Mark Drakeford liked to call a fire break. And the girls had come up to North Wales, to Rhyl to be precise. And I saw them on the seafront there on a windswept, bleak day. And I just admired the energy behind it. I admired the fact that people would give up their own time to actually travel all that distance, pile into a van or whatever it was in the early hours of the morning when they'd all got other things to do, So I was really taken aback by that. But as the hour or two progressed and the facts started emerging about what was going on and the duplicity of the government, and there was so much evidence provided that I just felt, this is a really worthwhile cause. But I was only at the very tip of the iceberg, even then. And I suppose what did it for me was when I went home and had a good read through the WHO 2012 proposals for CSE, and that reading the actual curriculum that they were proposing for 0 to 3, 0 to 4-year-olds actually made me feel quite sick and ill. The blood drained from my body, because I could see that there was nothing normal about it. And there was no justification within the text to make this seem like something that was an acceptable thing for children. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exposing them to ideas that many of them wouldn't have a clue about anyway. And at the age of 36 months, when a child is, some children have delayed speech, they can hardly express themselves. Other children might be quite precocious, but they've got nuances in the way that they understand or express themselves. Everything is very literal. So to start actually telling children at that age that it's pleasurable to touch your body, and that You don't have to, if something doesn't feel right, you don't have to carry on with it, etc. I mean, we know all this stuff, but so many parents don't seem to have looked at it, do they, you know? And to me, that was a massive alarm bell. And I just began to do more and more research. I read about Kinsey. I read a couple of biographies. I can't say I plowed through his books on sexuality page for page, but I've seen enough that made me realize that the man was a total sham and he was a pervert. And basically he had no respect for the sexual act. All he had respect for was lust, nothing to do with relationships. So it just started a journey, and it wasn't a nice journey in many ways, but you know, it's like almost when you've got symptoms of something and you know something isn't right within yourself, you're not well, it's almost better to have a name for that and know what you're fighting, rather than be in the dark. And that's the way I look at it, you know. I'm glad I know, and I can categorically say that I know.
As horrible as it is,
so many hours in.
As horrible as it is, I get what you mean, because it's a dark subject. It's horrifying, soul destroying, but I'd rather know than not know, for the obvious reasons, you know, for the future generations.
But after all those hours, you know, hundreds, thousands, God knows how many, I'm pondering on it as well. Because once you realize the enormity of it, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. It's on your mind.
All the time.
Actually, it is, unfortunately. And, you know, I can't see a little, you know, when I walk past the school and I see the kids running around, and that always used to give me a lot of joy, you know, pretending to be Batman or Spider-Man, squealing on a windy day, you know, with the jumpers around them or the coats like cloaks, you know. I used to love to see kids play and just feel the energy of it and the innocence of it, and be reminded about what it felt like myself as a child, you know, with none of these complications that are being produced for the kids now. Totally unnecessary and totally devious. And you know, when I walk past the schoolyard now and I see little children with their parents, I don't feel uplifted anymore.
I know what you mean. You know what's going on. It's because you're wondering what it's just so, you know.
It's the stripping of the innocence. Literally at that age, it's criminal. It's abhorrent. There's no words.
No, absolutely not. And of course, I haven't listened to anything so far. I haven't had a chance, but I will. But I'm sure Nigel has been talking about Emma Reynolds.
He did touch on it. It was more about just queer theory. We did touch on Emma Reynolds, but I know that you've been looking at a lot of her, you know, her videos and stuff lately. So do you want to, just give us a talk about Emma Reynolds
and who she is.
I only want to. Actually, what I wanted to talk about, if that was okay, was a new report that's come out called Transgender Leviathan. And just highlight a few points from that. But you know, Dad was talking about Emma Reynolds and said that after hours of research, he felt he knew less than when he started. That is the nature of it. The kind of language that is used is so obfuscated, so difficult to understand, and it's almost laughable. So, but I just wanted to read out her mission statement.
Emma Reynolds.
Which I'll just shut the door because the kettle's boiling. Can you hear the kettle?
No.
Oh, okay, it's gone. It sounds very loud here. So she wrote this book in 2005. And the thing was...
What's the book called?
It's called Girls, Boys and Junior Sexualities. I might have that wrong. Might be Boys, Girls and Junior
I've
Sexualities.
seen it quoted somewhere before.
But it's a sort of a mission statement. It's an attack on heteronormativity, and it promotes queer theory. And of course, Judith Butler is the big goddess of queer theory, as we all know. And I've watched her in videos and I find her quite chilling. There's something, I can't put my finger on it, but it's something sinister about the way she speaks. And she is so sure of herself. So we know that queer theory is stamped through this curriculum, like Blackpool Rock, you know, it's there. And when you actually look for it, even in the sort of fluffy guidelines that schools get and everything, you can see it, but a parent wouldn't, a teacher wouldn't. But we know it's there because you can understand, you can skim the layers and understand what that really means rather than what it purports to mean. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
In these guidelines. So this is the quote that where she says it all, and this is from a chapter called Sexualizing Gender, Gendering Sexuality. One of the projects of this book is to encourage what could be described as a queering of childhood. Queering childhood involves not just the queering of sex, gender, and sexual binary oppositions such as male, masculinity, female, femininity, and heterosexual homosexual, but also the generational binaries, adult child. Generational binaries, adult child. And sexual asexual. More specifically then, queering childhood pushes us to identify and think otherwise with a capital O about brackets and thus trouble, close brackets, the heterogendered and heterosexualized nature of identity categories such as girl, boy, and child, and foregrounds the heteronormativity of children's childhoods more widely. So basically, I mean, that piece is quite easy to understand
compared to what is
however difficult it sounds. To someone hearing it for the first time.
She's blurring the line, basically, isn't she, between all the other things, but adult and childhood, like you say, generational.
Yes, and heteronormativity and homosexuality, etc. So really, she's not there for anybody, is she?
No.
She's not there for the gay child. She's not really there for, she obviously has no interest in children with ALN, children learning with learning difficulties. She hasn't specialized in that, has she?
No.
She hasn't specialized in how to provide a better teaching platform or better resources for children who are partially deaf, partially blind, children that have been bereaved and are having a hard time in school, and whose behavior might have been, I've seen some children like that, and their behavior might just go off the scale. And I'm thinking when I see these children, well, they lost their dad, or they lost their mom, or they lost a brother or sister, and this has got to have a huge effect on them. For example, but she doesn't think like that. All she's thinking about is sexualities, and it's very, very worrying. We should be extremely worried about this. And I just wanted to give you an example of how weird and contorted her language can get. This is a paper which I have read, hardly understood, not even wanted to understand, actually. It's called Selfies. Are you ready? Buckle yourselves in. Selfies, Relfies, and phallic tagging, post-human part participations in teen digital sexuality assemblages. Did you catch that, girls?
I don't
No,
understand.
neither do I, and I don't know if it's because we're tired. Say it again, Joan.
Oh no, it's not worth it. I'll just read out.
Say it again for the viewers anyway. Say it again, Joan.
Do I have to?
Go on.
Yeah, go on.
I want to see if I can make sense of this.
Okay, I'll say it a bit faster. Selfies, relfies, and phallic tagging. Post-human participations in teen digital sexuality assemblages.
Any clue? Anybody in the room? Any clue? No.
Well, what she does is she takes empirical evidence, what she calls empirical evidence. So she has conversations with children, and she uses those conversations in order to justify queer theory, actually, in order to, she's only got one way of translating them, of putting them into writing, and that's her way of thinking, you know.
Her way of
thinking. She goes on these fantastical leaps of imagination in order to do that, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Basically, she's talking about sort of what do you call it, like dick pics and things like that, or children using another child's photo in order to, you know, change it. I don't know the technical terms, and to spread it around and discredit another child, that kind of thing.
The sexting and all that.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Well, I saw some videos you shared where she does it through expressive dance, doesn't she? Or she's not doing
Oh
the
yes,
expressive dance.
they got grants for that in South Wales, and I think it was a youth club called Forsythia that was somewhere.
They got grants for it.
Yeah, of course they did.
So we've just been talking, Joan, I don't know if you heard, to Dan, who's obviously trying to get grants to help PCP, obviously after the court case, continue their message, put together training packages for children, how to, you know.
And we can get a grant.
And they can't get
Emma
a grant
Reynolds
for anything.
And her mate who's prancing about.
You couldn't make it up.
Like
wasn't it hilarious though?
I don't know what I watched, Joan. It was
Jen,
like, what on
Jen,
earth
and
is this shit?
this woman, Jen. Yeah, but they're trying to make it into poetry. There's sort of self-time, space, phallic continuum, and they just
It was way too much. I couldn't cope. I was just frowning at it the whole time,
goodness.
Thinking,
Where is this video?
Well, Jen Angharad looked as if she was having a seizure.
yeah, she did at one. I watched it.
It was quite worrying, really.
Yeah, it was.
But
It
the
was about
most
the mining. It's about the mining.
Yes.
Can I get where is this video, Joan?
It's on YouTube, isn't it, Joan?
I'm going to put it up on Liberty Tactics Facebook page.
Okay, I can't remember what it's called. I've saved it under RSE,
Oh,
and I could send you the link.
Yeah, that would be
That'd be
awesome.
fabulous,
Cheers,
Joan.
It was from Manchester. It was a lecture that they did. She and Gillian Ivinson, who was a partner in crime, actually gave in Manchester. But and they'd had a small group of girls that they'd done workshops with.
That's right.
And then they'd gone out and they'd done practical things with, you know, like going on.
Is it the Summer Institute Equality Research? Gabrielle Ivinson, Emma Reynolds, and Jen.
Oh,
Angard.
Gabrielle. That's the one.
There we go. That one.
Right, it's a 45-minute long video. I wonder if there's just a clip.
No, people got to watch it all. They have to see the pain I went through and see that.
I don't think after hearing that, there's no chance I'm going to sit through her for 45 minutes.
Just skip through it.
Okay,
Oh,
so
no,
I'm going to share this for anyone who's interested.
Honestly, watch
It's
it,
on
guys.
Liberty Tactics Facebook page. I could put it on Twitter, and maybe Paul can share it around the other.
It's bizarre.
Really
it's one of the most bizarre
I'm going
things
to
I've
send
ever
it to
seen
Paul.
in my life.
I'll send it to Paul.
But I think that the point of it, Lou, was that she was trying to, you see, queer theory likes victims.
Mm-hmm.
It likes to have sort of victims that are in the shadows, but maybe it's not just queer theory. Maybe it's part of what's it called? Critical
race theory.
justice, critical justice theory, or whatever. And from what I can gather, there is a sort of communist element to it all as well, but that's another story. It's more of a politicization of education rather than an actual proper pedagogy as such, proper teaching practices. It's an ideology.
Yeah.
And it's so in that case, it's indoctrination, isn't it? You know?
Exactly.
But I think what she tends to do is she goes, like the 2005 book was somewhere over in the east of England. She got 2 schools and she got a tape recorder, and she was going into the schools not as a not just as a spectator to see what was going on in the classrooms, but she was taking the children out of the classroom, or she was joining them outside the classroom, watching them in their own environment and recording their conversations and watching their attitudes towards sexuality and role play, performativity, I suppose, as Butler would have called it, you know, performing their sexes, performing their sort of binary notions of what sex was. And I've yet to find out what the ethics of all that was. Apparently, she's got a note saying what the ethics were, and it said something like Reynolds 2008. But I haven't yet been able to find it because, you know, you're taking a child out of a classroom. Hopefully there was permission from all the parents.
I bet there wasn't.
Because I think you were talking about 80 children altogether in various groups. So she maybe see each child altogether for a couple of hours. I can't remember. But, you know, she was talking about boys and girls going under the willow tree. She was sort of lamenting the fact that there was nowhere where they could express themselves sexually, and that there was a willow tree that, you know, children could sort of go under to have a kiss or whatever. I'm not saying she was suggesting that they should be having outright sexual intercourse or anything like that. I mean, obviously, that would be beyond the pale. But she was talking about sort of self-expression and the fact that it's been frustrated in the school environment.
Well, doesn't she sound so much like Kinsey, Joan? Because you've read a load on Kinsey as well.
Absolutely.
In her ways and everything. Oh, for anyone watching,
how can this
Emma
woman be
Reynolds,
allowed around children?
For anyone who doesn't know, by the way, we're talking about Professor Emma Reynolds from Cardiff University, and the reason why she is key in this is because she basically wrote off the back of Kirsty Williams's say-so by, you know, on the expert panel for RSE here in Wales. So she had massive influence in this dreadful education that our children are being exposed to day in, day out. So this is who we're talking about, Emma Reynolds and her.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt, but the problem is she's not the only one, is she?
No.
There's a whole host of them.
Yeah.
This is infested every single university, probably.
Yeah.
Well, we came across some nasty little organisation. Oh gosh, what was it now? It was linked to do with the university, the Wales.
Oh yeah, I can't remember now.
But they were nasty. They even had their own like little arm of media, and they were totally and utterly for the agenda, pushing the agenda, trying to do hit pieces and saying that, you know, the stuff that was coming out now about the education, it was all crap, rubbish. I mean, it was a real hit piece, but I didn't think it got much traction.
It didn't actually, but then that's what they're all doing. Anytime anything comes up, they just put it out, saying, no, that's not true, and just expecting people to believe it. But the fallout is here, though, Joe.
Of course it is. So, you know, it's visible now, isn't it? Sadly. Yeah. But I'd just like to say one more thing about her, that one of the things that she lamented about her, that particular piece of research that she'd done and produced a book from it. One of the things she lamented was the fact that it was sort of white children. It was only done on white children, and it was only done in the context of, I think it was fairly rural. You know, it wasn't like an inner city or anything like that. So just think about that. How does her research apply to somewhere like Cardiff? How does it apply to the bigger cities?
Again, what she's done there, Joan, as well, sorry to interrupt, she's taken a small subsection of society again, isn't she? A really tiny subsection, and made it representative to everyone else. And Kinsey did exactly that.
Exactly, beautifully put. That's exactly what she's done, actually.
It's a bit like what they're doing now with these old 15-minute cities and things. They're going to the most woke cities.
Yeah.
Right, and piloting it there. And obviously it's going to be a great success there. Yeah. But that's determining that the rest of the country want
the
it.
Same thing,
I mean, it's, these times. I mean, what a time to be alive.
I know. You everyone says you couldn't make it up, but you really couldn't make it up.
I know.
And I just wondered if you'd mind, because I thought this was really relevant. I came across it the other day. It was sent to a WhatsApp group that I'm in with Barry Wall. He's fighting gender identity and equality, diversity, and inclusion. Tooth and nail, you know, he's really trying to get people informed, and it's back to front. It's called Transgender Leviathan, the Transgender Leviathan. It looks like that.
Who wrote that? Did you say, Joan?
I didn't say who wrote it. It's people I've never heard of. It's what's going on there? Oh, sorry, there was an echo in the background.
Matty's joined here.
It's something called American Principles Project Foundation.
American
Principles Project Foundation. And the author is Pedro L. Gonzalez. And he's an associate editor at Chronicles, a magazine of American culture. His writings appeared in the New York Post, Washington Examiner, The Spectator, The National Interest, and elsewhere. He's the recipient of a Lincoln Fellowship from the Claremont Institute and a Haggerty Richardson Fellowship from the Conservative Partnership Institute.
I'll have a look at that, Joan. Thank you very much.
Well, I've just outlined one or two things
that go on. Yeah.
I'd like to know about this. I'm not saying it's totally, inclusive of everything that's going on, but I think they've done a really good job in pinpointing some of the murkier points that people need to know. You know, because you've come across people just on social media who have a child that they're quite proud of, because that child, they're helping that child to present as a different sex.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make clear that there are so many danger signals to this, that the people that are actually supposed to be looking after these children, if they do proceed on that route, are not trustworthy.
No.
Absolutely not trustworthy. The drugs that are used for them are being used off-label. They're not being used for the purposes that they were supposed to be used. So it's entirely experimental. And also that the agencies that are supposed to be setting the gold standards, like the World Professional Association of Trans Health, or whatever it's called, WPATH.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Is a very, very dodgy setup in so many ways. I've got a really good video about that as well somewhere, written by an endocrine, presented by an endocrinologist in America, who's known about it from its inception and who's known about its shenanigans as well. So there's a whole story behind the kind of people that set these institutes up.
Exactly. And
And
they're
it's
always dodgy, Joan, and they
none of it's pretty, they're
yeah,
all
we
quite
look
dodgy.
back at all of them, and in some capacity, something or some scandal or something terrible to do with children seems to come out of these
Exactly.
organisations, and they're the
Well,
one funding it, funding
some
the whole
horrible-
movement.
Some horrible perversion or some kink or something that makes these people not function properly.
Yeah.
But they want to validate themselves by exactly like Kinsey.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like Kinsey. I say it, and I
He's
can
a
say it
pervert.
you because you know Kinsey as well. No, know him. You know what I mean. You've done a lot of research into him, so you know what I'm saying when we look at these people and they speak and act in the very same way that he did. It's really frightening. The parallels are just bang on. They pull it every single time, and the more we learn about them, the more we see this reflection in the likes of Alfred Kinsey and the idea of, you know, the sexual from birth scenario, which we all I say we all know, unfortunately we don't. There are people out there who really do believe the same things as these people, obviously. You know, that
everyone's reiterating that, you know, family planning association, they're saying the same thing, aren't they? Sexual from birth.
Yeah.
Seekers, obviously. That there's a whole panoply of people that are saying exactly the same thing. And they've got absolutely no grounds for saying it.
No.
I mean, if you went up to someone's baby, say someone was pushing a pram that you knew in the village or in your area, and you went up to look at the new baby, you know, like everybody does, and you said, oh gosh, oh, so sweet, so sexual.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
You get a punch on the nose.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd be ostracized. And yet it's okay for these people to say it.
I know.
Not okay for people who are educating children to say it.
I know. It really is frightening times, Joan, isn't it? You know,
absolutely. But you see, all these, what I just wanted to read out is just showing the kind of power that these people have got and how far it's gone. So, for example, it says in 2013, gender identity disorder was dropped from the 5th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is classed as DSM-5. Okay, so you've no longer got gender identity disorder, and this manual is considered by many US psychiatrists' Bible for diagnosing mental illness. And that instead of gender identity disorder, you've now got gender dysphoria, which is what we're all so familiar with by now, aren't we?
Yeah.
So instead of it being a sort of classable mental illness, which it was in prior years, 2013, the goalposts have been changed, and it's now gender dysphoria. So previously it was a pathology, and now it's just like, it's a bit more benign, it's a bit of a confusion. And then it says the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, etc., also noted that adult gender dysphoria occurred at a rare rate of 2 to 14 in 100,000 people. Last year, however, a study published by the American Academy of Pediatrics suggested that the rate of transgender identification among America's youth may now be as high as 9 in 100. Further still, an analysis published in June 2022 by the Williams Institute at the UCLA School of Law, using federal data, found that nearly 1 in 5 people aged 13 to 17 identify as transgender today.
It's just mental.
1 in 5. It's gone from 0. And when you think about the GIDS clinic, the gender identity, what did the D stand
They
for?
really call it that, the GIDS clinic.
GIDS.
Yeah, gender identity It isn't dismal. I can't remember.
Gender identity.
And the Tavistock. That was started in the late 80s, I think, by one doctor because of one problem child that he'd had.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was very worried about the child, and he wanted to help the child, etc. And he thought that they would maybe get something in place in order to help any future children that had the same kind of problems, which was severe with this particular child. That was then. And subsequent to that, you only had handfuls of boys. It was almost exclusively young boys.
Yeah, it was.
Present at the clinic. And what have we got now?
Mostly girls.
By 2023. And what kind of girls are they, Kat?
Autistic girls, usually. And within...
Late presenting as well.
Yeah, just as in a certain age as well. And it's something like 80%, isn't it, Joan? Predominantly girls. Or have I got that wrong?
I think it's not far off.
Yeah.
It's
so, I mean, where has that come from? We never had it before. Did you want to ask Joan a question?
No, it's just that there's been some comments in YouTube. So people are asking where that. I've actually got Paul on it. Actually, he's going to be getting into it. Paul's going to be commenting, but they want to know where to search for the WHO documents on the RSE CSE.
Well, that's on the public
so I've said,
Wales,
what you need to do is go to publicchildprotectionwales.org. All of the information that you need. There's letters. There's everything that you need to do your own research, which is obviously what we encourage everybody to do, to come to their own conclusions. And
1,000,000%.
Have a look. But Paul, thank you so much. He's on the comments.
Oh, thank you, Paul. That helps.
That's great, and thank you for the very nice comments and everything. We are trying to donate the money. We're donating this money to help these parents with the legal fund where they're challenging it. They lost the judicial review. There is a appeal going through. They obviously are fighting against the Welsh government and the whole agenda, which has the backing of all these big organisations who are trying to push this through onto our children. Public Child Protection Wales doesn't have, and these parents don't have that. They have mums doing skate-athons. They have ladies doing knitting. They have locals doing walks across Wales. They have 2 idiots staying up for 36 hours to do podcast. 3 idiots, 4 idiots, one in Bristol.
Oh yeah.
Staying up to try and raise awareness. And coffee mornings. That's the funding that Public Child Protection Wales gets. That's it, completely grassroots,
from the mums
and as you can, from the mums and dads. So the reason we're doing this is because we want to help ease the burden that these 4 working families have, to cover the legal fees. They've already incurred over £80,000 that has been put on for costs, but they think they're going to price these families out. They're thinking all of their money and all of their power is going to price them out, and we ain't going to let that happen.
No way.
So we're going to keep charging on. What did you say yesterday? We'll die on this hill.
We'll die on this hill.
For doing this.
Yeah.
And as you've heard over this course of this weekend, people across the country. We've had people in Ireland. We've had people in Canada, America. We've had Alex Thompson in the Netherlands. Everybody is just trying just to get the word out, because to stay silent about this is to be complicit. This is for the sake of the children. It's uncomfortable. I know you'll lose friends, keep talking about it, but they're not real friends. They're not going to just listen and understand who you are. And it sounds so cliche, like it's all about the children, isn't it? They are the future.
Is.
That's
I
the
know
end of it.
Sounds
so
like we're going to break into song at some point during this.
I know. But yeah, so that's why we're doing this. We've got everyone from all different walks of life. We've had the Christian People's Alliance. We've had Azar representing the Muslim community. We've had Daniel representing the gay community. We've had, it's every walk of life, blended, not diverse. We've all got one common ground that we can stand on, and that's protecting the innocence of our children.
Public Child Protection Wales have got 3, haven't they? Only one split in society, that's childhood and adulthood. You're either part of the human race or the human disgrace, and everyone under 18 is a minor. If those are those then
Those are the values
those are the values, and that covers everything, and
it does, doesn't it? You can't say much more than that.
no. Thank you so much, Joan, for coming on. It's been lovely having you on, as always, and we'll definitely
Before I go, please, can I just read out one quote? Remember that?
Of course you can. Please, please. No, you can't. Of course you can.
Remember that Matt Walsh film?
Yeah.
What is a Woman? Okay. Well, there was a surgeon on there who was she chilled people to the marrow, I think. Her name was Shane Taylor, Dr. Shane Taylor. And there's just a quote here from her. Dr. Shane Taylor, a university professor and a physician at the Vanderbilt Clinic for Transgender Health, explained during a lecture how she convinced Nashville to get progressive on the issue, i.e. the transgender issue. She highlighted that transgenderism is a big money maker, especially because the surgeries require a lot of follow-ups.
Yeah.
Tidying up things that's impossible to tidy up for a lot of people, bladder issues, all sorts of issues, bowel issues. Taylor delivered these remarks the same year the clinic opened its doors. These surgeries, she says, make a lot of money. So female to male chest reconstruction can bring $40,000. A patient just on routine hormone treatment, who I'm only seeing a few times a year, can bring in several $1,000s. It actually makes money for the hospital. In a since deleted tweet, the Vanderbilt University Hospital selected Taylor for a Women in Medicine spotlight, highlighting that she helped grow the transgender clinic from 1 to over 2,000 patients in 4 years since it opened in 2018.
That woman should be behind bars.
That is mental. Exactly. 1 to 2,000.
That woman needs to be behind bars.
Wow.
And this is the thrust of the article. They're saying all this is come top down. It's fallen on us like a ton weight. We didn't even realize it was coming. And the only way we can get rid of it is by nibbling away at the infrastructure, so you're talking councils, you're talking NHS, you're talking everything that's allowed this monster through the door.
And they all have as well, Joan, haven't they? They have all literally allowed this monster through the door, and we've just got to change it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Joan, for coming on.
And I didn't even get onto a book that is that has been recommended in Gwynedd by.
Tell us what the book's
called. It's all right,
Joan.
No, I'm not going to now. It's called. Can't remember what it's called. It's called. Can I tell you about gender diversity? And the first half is written in the voice of a 12-year-old. This is recommended for schools, for teachers, for parents, and for pupils. And it's written by C.J. Atkinson. And it came out 6 years ago. It was controversial then, and they're still recommending it in schools here. And Atkinson identifies as non-binary transmasculine, is on the waiting list for top surgery, or is passionately queer, which is why I use they, them pronouns. My friends were queer people, queer women mostly. Our spaces were political, defiant, critical of the white, cis, heterosexual patriarchy in which we live. And in this book, in the voice of a 12-year-old girl, it's absolutely shocking, the kind of things that he puts into this child's mouth. Like my friend Toby, T-O-B-I, at the gender clinic. Oh, she's wondering about whether she'll get, 12-year-old girl, she might get top surgery or she might not. I might go on puberty blockers or I might not, because they won't harm me anyway. They won't harm me. And no mention of the fact that there are increased heart attacks, increased strokes, increased infertility from puberty blockers. osteoporosis. I've seen videos of children who can't walk virtually after being on it for a couple of years, and impotence. This doesn't solve their problems.
No,
it makes them worse for the vast majority of children. So, yeah. So if anyone's thinking about bringing a child up as the other sex,
think again.
Have another thing, please.
Think
please.
Again.
It's not a picnic.
No, it's not. It's
Please.
anything but, Joan, anything but.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that.
Thank
God
you
bless
ever
you,
so much,
Joan.
Joan.
Thank
God
you
bless
so
We'll be
much.
on with Matty in about 10 minutes, tell him.
Okie doke.
We'll
Right.
speak to you soon. Loads of love.
I think we
Mwah.
get-
Loads of love
Bye,
to you
Joan.
and respect. Bye now.
Bye,
Bye.
darling.
Bye.
So we're on 9,120. We raised 6,000 on the last one. So this is topping up the last one. So 3,120. Well, we'll add an extra 20 quid because we're not going down that way. So we've done £3,120. We did 6,000.
We have a couple of adverts on before Matty, just so we can. have a
Matty's
quick
going to
wee
come in.
and
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm absolutely starving.
Yeah, we'll do
We'll get
Matty,
some
and then
food.
we'll
Might
have
have to
something
get some
eat.
delivery. Even,
Yeah.
maybe like she's helped us enough. She's done non-stop, Rhiannon. So thank you, Rhiannon, for all that you've done. But let's get some food in. We'll play some ads.
Right, we'll play a couple of ads, but we have got Matty, so while we get something to eat, we'll obviously speak to Matty for half an hour before we can put something on then.
Yeah.
So have we got anything we can?
To the High Court block classes about gender identity for 3-year-olds because compulsory relationships and sex education classes are going to be taught to kids as young as 3 across Wales in the autumn. They are inappropriate and even dangerous.
Well, yeah, if we're talking 3-year-olds here, we should not be discussing the word sex and children in the same sentence.
As a parent of 4 kids, if I found out that a school and teachers were deliberately hiding information like the gender identities, supposedly, of my kids, I'd be furious.